And sometimes you post something stupid and that took 5 minutes to write, and you have
Yeah.
huge engagement, and you're like, this is unfair. But I think it's part of the game, and once you accept that, it's still a funny game. And I think like I see LinkedIn as a game now, and
Yeah.
just keeping playing. And so I want salespeople. And we have salespeople who will never lie on what we can do. When you try to copy someone very famous, it's important to understand that you are not at the same stage, and someone who is very famous has much more natural power, natural aura than you have when you're very, very early. So when you're early, you have to ask yourself, why would people care about what I write?
Is the brand built on Guillaume's content, your content, the content that the people that we just discussed are putting out on LinkedIn?
Social is really a good way to build a brand when you manage to stand out.
All right, I'm here with Charles Tenot. Is that roughly how you would pronounce it? He's the CEO of Lemlist and Lempire. Lempire is a holding company that owns a couple of software companies, Lemlist being one of them. You guys own Taplio, Tweet Hunter, Lemcal, Lemwarm, but I think Lemlist is the biggest one. Lemlist is a prospecting tool to automate multi-channel outreach across LinkedIn, email, phone. You guys are doing 33 million in ARR, 150-ish employees according to LinkedIn, bootstrapped. Company was started in 2018 by Guillaume Moubeche. Charles joined as the COO in 2023 and then moved on to CEO in November 2024. And I wanted to have him on the show because I feel like you kind of went from 0 to 30,000 followers in no time. And you also were able to learn from, in my opinion, one of the best in the game, Guillaume, in terms of this whole content, personal branding game. I actually had him on the show. I looked it up exactly a year ago, basically in September 2024, he was on. So thank you for joining. And then let me know if
Thanks.
anything needs to be corrected or amended in that intro.
No, thanks, Finn, for having me. I'm very happy to be here, and it was perfect. So nothing to say. Um,
Awesome. Cool. So we'll dive into a bunch of things. We'll dive into Charles' content strategy, how he thinks about writing, engaging, and content that actually converts. We'll talk about how Lemlist is enabling a couple of their leaders at the company to also be active on LinkedIn. We'll talk about their amazing 10 to 1 LTV to CAC ratio. We'll talk about how they broke through their ARR plateau 15 or 18 months ago. But I don't want this to be a pure kind of, lecture that you guys just watch. So we'll do two things. One, feel free to drop your questions into the Zoom chat here at any point, and I'll try to incorporate them as best as I can into the conversation. And then towards the end, we'll have, depending on how many questions there are, 5 or 10 or 15 minutes just for Q&A. But I think it's always more fun to kind of weave them into the conversation. So if something, and be selfish here because you probably joined for a reason. Maybe you're trying to do your own CEO's brand. Maybe you're trying to be on LinkedIn. Don't ask the questions that you think would be interesting for other people. Just ask the question that you want to ask selfishly to solve your own problems. That's why we're all here. All right, let's dive into it. Charles, you took over the CEO role from Guillaume a little under a year ago. What are some of the lessons, and what is it like taking over the CEO role? You rode from a superstar like Guillaume. Those are your words, superstar Guillaume. So talk to me a little bit about that transition and what it's like and anything you've learned so far.
so it's a wide topic, right? So
Anything
taking
where you
over
go
after
to,
Guillaume.
yeah, yeah.
So first of all, we connected very well. That was one of the reasons I joined. And actually, when I decided to join, I joined as a part-time advisor, like contractor, and I was not sure to be willing to commit into a long-term contract. And after a few months in the company, I realized that there were like lots of potential, and so I wanted to help fix problems. And so being after Guillaume is not easy, but it's easy in the meantime. So what's easy is that first of all, Guillaume is like someone who is really low ego in a way. So he's very, very high ego actually, but he's very low ego in the meantime. So how can I explain that? So if you ask him, he will tell you like, I know I deserve more than other people deeply. So he's because he feels that he's working harder than the average guy. But on the meantime, he has never any ego for his idea to be better than others, or like tactically he's not high ego, like, but deeply he's very high ego. So I think that's maybe what describes it the best. So he has like this strong powerful engine that helps him like going again and like never stopping. But on the meantime, he's very easy to work with because you can give him any feedback and he's always trying to improve, which I find very, very, very cool to be honest. And so when you arrived after Guillaume, like what was good is that the contract was clear. I think like I love clear contracts in life. He said like I don't want to manage the company anymore. Like there is only two teams that I still want to manage. It's like media team and design team because I love design and I love doing media. But basically, like everything that's the day to day of the company, I don't want to manage it. So I don't want to manage product. I don't want to manage sales. I don't want to manage marketing. So it was clear, and that's what I advise anyone who's taking a job in life. That having a clear contract is always good because there is nothing worse than an unclear situation where you don't know what's your scope, what you're going to do. So it was very clear and that helped. And so other things that really helped was that the company was profitable. To be honest, like that's really good because you can spend more money. So I think money is an enabler, and notably when you try to build a talented team, it's much easier when you can hire people. When you're stuck with the same people over for 5 years, 6 years, that you need to recommit, into giving more people who potentially are like a bit tired by the story, and so I think it would have been harder for me to reshape the company in a way. But because we had money, I could hire people, and naturally people left. That and people who had made their time, and I think like it's life of the company. Like there are people who are good at certain stages, and we thank them for that, and there are people who are better at new stages, and
What
and so yeah.
what are one or two things you wish you had known when you stepped into the CEO role a year ago?
So to be honest, like I can consider that I was CEO from earlier because like we changed the title, but the in the fact that I was managing like the whole company from almost the start, besides like media and design, which I'm managing now, anyways. But I think what I would like to know is that trust more your gut feeling, because
Mm.
I'm someone who observe a lot, and Guillaume told me that for a while. He told me you should trust more your gut feeling. But one of the difficult thing when you are after Guillaume is that when he gives his opinion you listen because he's very talented, as a founder. And so the problem maybe is that his influence was very big on me and sometimes too big versus the level of knowledge he had on the team because the company was changing and he was less involved. And so naturally, there were topics that I mastered better than him. That's a good news because I was doing like full time. And but on the meantime, when he had like any gut feeling, because he's really smart and he was the chairman and main shareholder of the company, I was like really feeling that I should listen to him. And most
Hmm.
of the time he was right, to be honest, but not always. And I think like I failed to listen to myself more. And sometimes you wait a bit too long to take some decisions because you continue having like these signs. I'm sure like everyone who has to take decision in life have the same thing. Like you keep hearing things about I don't know someone or a situation or I don't know channels that doesn't work or someone who is maybe toxic and stuff like that. And you keep hearing and you're like, I hesitate because I don't really know how this is going to impact the business. And once you finally take the decision to, I don't know, stop something or start something fresh that you wanted to start, you realize that everyone says, wow, that's amazing. And that was like, so it's only decision that I think I could have taken earlier, more using my gut feeling, I guess.
Now let's go to the content game. When did you start posting actively on LinkedIn? Because I don't think you were really much of a content creator before taking on this role, right?
I don't think I'm one neither now, but uh, yeah. To be honest, like, and I think it's something that I like to share because it helps people. When I started to write on LinkedIn, I was a chief revenue officer at Scalo, and I come from a finance world where it's not well seen. It's not seen like as a good thing to display online publicly any stuff. Even worse if it's personal. So I was like formatted to be secret. What you learn in like consulting and finance is like not show anything, like be discreet. And so it was my background. But going on LinkedIn, I realized that many people talk and they don't know anything they are talking about, and that drove me crazy. I'm like people giving advice about sales, but they have never been sales. Or people like explaining how to do a great company, but they have not created any company. And that's what LinkedIn is about because people who know the less are the ones who feel the most confident talking about something. And
Yeah.
and I was always feeling like that. It's like people who know a lot, they will never talk because they know that they don't know. Like it's actually like a Greek philosophy, right? But and so I was like, okay, I know that I'm not the best. I will never be the best, for sure. But I'm not the most stupid neither. And there are stupid people who talk a lot online. They take the bandwidth, of other humans. And ultimately, what they say becomes a reality because everyone listens to them. And I was like, no, this is not fucking possible. Like, it's not fair. So I want to talk, I want to say something, and I will do it. And so that was, I think, the deeper part of me. And the more tactical part was that at Scalo, we need to like grow a lot because we raise money. And so I wanted to hire people, and I was like, okay, what's the best way to hire people? So we need more hire manager, etc. But I was thinking, how do you amplify your top of the funnel? Like, how do you uh, become known by more people?
Yeah.
Because the more you have top of the funnel, the more you'll be able to hire sales. And so I was like, okay, let's explain what culture we want to build at Scalo, like how fun it is to work here, and potentially people will see that, and it will amplify like the hiring capabilities. And I think it worked pretty well. And I started to like it, find that it was a bit funny, that sometimes you have it's a tough game because very often sometimes you work a lot on a post and it's a big fail and you're like fuck, that should, I don't know, like why people don't realize that it's gold. And sometimes you post something stupid and that took 5 minutes to write and you have
Yeah.
huge engagement and you're like, this is unfair. But I think it's part of the game, and once you accept that, it's still a funny game. And I think like I see LinkedIn as a game now, and
Yeah.
just keeping playing.
Jeremy asks, have you been able to measure the impact of this strategy to your top of funnel and or revenue contribution?
Yeah, that's a question I always get. It's no, you never have to. I think you can be, but I think the amount of work and the uncertainty that you still have when you try to track things that are complex, tracking things that are easy to track is always a good idea. But tracking things that are very complex to track, like brand reputation that you can have online, is one, very very complex to do, and two, I think it's always very wrong, because there are many many things that happen. Like it can be someone who, even if it's indirect, sometimes you have indirect thing that accumulates. And I really believe in, like, yeah, the compounding returns that you have when you do these kind of things. Then more people know you, then people talk about you, then people getting interested in your company. So we don't really track, to be honest. We track high metric, high level metric. Like, of course, we were sometimes asking. We had like you have some signal. You hire someone who says, "How did you hear about us? I heard on LinkedIn." So you are like, okay, at least I have one guy that I have heard thanks to LinkedIn. Maybe you don't have two. So I'm unable to tell you like if you have many of them or not. But I know that it has an impact. And it goes back to then how I play this game. But I naturally decide to spend very little time doing that because I'm not able to really measure the impact that it has. Some people in the company are convinced that a lot of the growth of the company is because I write on LinkedIn. I'm not convinced at all, by that. But we don't really know. The truth is that the it's always a matter of like what does it bring, what level of certainty you have on what it brings versus what time do you dedicate to an activity. And the time I dedicate to this activity is very low because of my methodology. And
How much
so
time would you
even if
say?
it
How much time would you say?
uh, if I am honest with the time I spend scrolling, because I scroll, it's going to be maybe 3 hours per week or 4 hours per week.
Wow. That is that with scrolling, with writing, posting, commenting, answering DMs, all of it?
Yeah, but that will not maybe include ideation that happens in my head at any time. But
Mm,
that's something that I cannot really measure because it can happen in bed, it can happen in the shower. So I cannot really measure ideation. Ideation is like, oh, for instance, you want me to explain my methodology because it's not
yes.
great, but it's simple. uh, the way the thing that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to format my brain to understand the rules of LinkedIn. So I'm trying to every day understand a bit better what makes a good post or not, and understand what makes successful hooks. And I think LinkedIn is really about the angle. It's even more about the angle than the hook. So you can talk about a topic of many different ways. The question is like, how do you approach the topic? Like you could say, for instance, sales. I will give you an example. Sales is unfair. So that's an angle. You want to say, oh, sales is unfair. It's difficult to be sales. Or you have a lot of pressure. Blah blah blah. It's a boring angle. Like, yes, sales is unfair. Life is unfair, so that's nobody cares. But the way you can approach it is: sales missed targets, fire him. Product missed deadline, just change the roadmap. This is the post that I did like this week. And this is exactly what LinkedIn likes. It's a way you approach the topic. So you can talk about the same topic that sales is unfair on like 100 different times, 100 different ways. You can approach it like you could do 100 posts about sales is unfair. Like, and you could do memes, you could do funny things. So basically what I'm trying to do is like un program my brain, and I think it's like a muscle. So every day I become better to understand like what angles work on LinkedIn because they make people willing to engage. And I do that, I open a parenthesis, sorry, to a certain extent because I don't want to be clickbait. And this is where I put my personal limits because on LinkedIn, if you want to maximize audience, you can always be clickbait. You can always like find something that's more easier, and cheaper. Then the problem that the quality of your audience will reduce. Because if you want CRO, VP of sales to be interested in your content, you still need to provide some actually good things. So if you start to be only clickbait and easy thing, you will increase the volume of engagement, but you will not increase the quality. So it's where you put the cursor. Because if you look at the biggest trendy topics, it's like really shitty. Like the posts that gets most engagement are sometimes really, really low quality. And the engagement is actually from India, from Pakistan. I have nothing against these countries, but it's people who want to be seen on LinkedIn, who engage very easily, who spend a lot of time on LinkedIn because for them it's a way to get more money easily. So it's not the audience that actually monetize in any way. So, but basically, I would try to first, sorry for the parenthesis. One, I would try to program my brain to understand like the rules of LinkedIn, and this is through trying, reading at posts that work, and taking some time to just try different angles, and you can use ChatGPT for that. I have actually a ChatGPT hook generator where I've taken like 20 posts that I think are good in terms of angle, and I ask GPT to find me an angle on a topic and challenge me on the different angles. And very often you have one angle that's good. I think ChatGPT is a great sparring partner. It's not great to really do a final product, but to help you ideate and iterate, I think it's quite good. And so then the other thing is that I meet people and I talk. I talk a lot, as you can see. And when I talk, my ideas can come at any time. So my ideas can come in a meeting with like marketing, in a lunch, even alone in the train. And whenever I have an idea, it can be on my scooter, on my motorbike. When I have an idea on my motorbike, I just stop. I stop on the on the side of the road, and I'm like, okay, this is a good idea, and I'm writing it down on Slack. And so usually I try to make it really enough. So I will give you an example that I have today, an idea that I have today. So a friend of mine told me that she has a chief of staff that is applying to be a CRO, a chief revenue officer, but she doesn't want it to give the title because the chief of staff is a former consultant, and the person is like really good to find pros and cons, but not really good to take decisions and really lead. And so she told me that, and so when I was like on the way back of this lunch, I realized something that I realized that why was that happening, because I have been a consultant myself, and the idea I came across was, okay, the problem is that consultants, because I was like that, so it echoed to me a lot, and I was like, when I was consultant, I get used to say pros and cons, because as a consultant you don't really take decision. You just say to your clients, oh, there is good, there is bad, you should maybe do this, or maybe you should do that. It's like a lawyer, you never have to commit to anything. And so I thought about this discussion, and I realized that there was a good like idea here. And I on my motorbike, I tried to figure out what was the right angle. And the right angle was something provocative. Like I didn't finish the post, so I wrote just a draft saying like consultant can never be good operators unless they do that. And this is very provocative. And then I explain how you can become a good operator while coming from a consulting background, because I actually believe you can be one. But it's just that, and then I explained my idea. I explained that as a consultant, you never learn to take decisions, and living in the business world is about taking decisions and convincing people that your ideas are good. So all my posts is about that. So I just created the angle. I just came up with the idea like consultants make poor operators unless they do that. And so I wrote that. I know that I had my idea. Sometimes I write a few bullet points, and then when I come back to this idea, I will, for instance, wake up a morning a bit earlier if I'm awake, I don't know, or anytime, or let's say that every time I have like 15 minutes, I will just look at my personal Slack message that I send to myself, and I will pick the topic that I feel the best. In the past, I was a lot using Tapio, but now it's more convenient for me to use only Slack for that. And so I go back and I scroll, and I take a topic that I feel like feels good for me now, and I write it and I post it. and it's 10 minutes.
So if I would recap this, is the first step is to give yourself permission to post, and that comes down to realizing that hopefully you have something to say and you are not the most stupid person in the world and you have some interesting ideas and some experiences that would be worthwhile to people. Then you pay when you do things as you go through your workday, you just pay attention to, I guess, interesting things that stand out to you. That could be like a conversation over lunch. That could be a conversation with a prospect, an idea you have in the shower, like something that stands out to you. You write that down, kind of the initial idea and the initial thought. You think about the angle, and the angle, what sounds to me, needs to be something that's provocative enough that it's like someone can react to it and either agree or disagree to it. Like it shouldn't be a such a
Plain.
generic,
Mm.
fluffy statement that it's kind
Yeah.
of obvious. But it shouldn't be so clickbaity that you ruin your reputation. And you collect those things, and then on any given day, you kind of scroll through your collected ideas, let's say, and you just pick the one that currently resonates, and that's the one that you expand on and fully write, and then you publish same day type thing.
It's exactly that. And I think it's really about like thinking that as any activity, it's like a skill or a muscle, and you become better at practicing. And so nobody was born with like talented LinkedIn skills. That's not something that babies have, right?
That'd be
So
scary.
that'd be very scary. Yeah, more LinkedIn cringe, right? But no, no, yeah, that's just a skill. So you have to accept that and you have to accept that done is better than perfect. Like many of my posts are not like, sometimes I'm not so proud of them. Like I'm not like, wow, this is awesome. Sometimes I even go back and I say, why did I write this way? Why? So you can repurpose a lot. I don't do it, but it's an advice Guillaume gave me. Guillaume does that very well. He repurpose a lot. So going back to your past post and taking them again, but just changing the angle, recycling them. I don't do that because I find it so much fun to find new ideas, and I
Mm.
don't want to spend the time to yeah, dig into my old post. But it's actually one of the best strategy to recycle, repurpose the content. It can be actually content from others that actually you can find from Taplio, which is very helpful for that. It's my personal methodology. It's not the best one. I think there are if you have more stake around like going on LinkedIn than I have, because my stake number one is that actually that the company performs and and that we are successful. So it's not my personal brand as my first stake. But if I would have more time, I would write my content pillars down. Like for instance, like I like to have like sometimes topic about like new stuff on Lemlist, but not making too promotional. Like finding a
Mm.
fun way to explain like what we do on Lemlist and why it's interesting. So that's one of the content pillar that I could have. Like one of the content pillar is to create like things about why I think the job of sales is very hard and why people should understand that. So like creating your different content pillars and then recycling your post, I think would be the next steps if I wanted to improve my LinkedIn strategy that I could really beef up. But for now, I mean, I'm good enough with this 3 hours that I spend per week.
I feel like Guillaume cracked the code on how to bootstrap a completely new LinkedIn account because it feels like he's been banned 17 times and he just has this list of greatest hits of posts and you just post them and like within, I don't know, it feels like a month he's back to 20,000 followers.
This is insane. Like really, sometimes he has like 1 million, 2 million impressions on one post with like 5,000 followers. You're like, what the fuck? That's yeah, yeah.
Also, you should know, Charles, that the success of your company solely rests on the performance of your LinkedIn content. Do you think, though, you said it's kind of like a muscle that you need to learn through just posting, seeing what works, trying different angles? Is there nothing that, like a shortcut that like something that Guillaume gave you on your way when you start and be like, these are the 5 things you need to know, and that already gave you a head start to everyone else who kind of started at complete zero?
Yeah, so he gave me some feedback in the past to a few posts, and it was really about the sharpness of the writing. Like I think like it was a while ago, but when I joined, I asked him like, "Can you help me do some posts?" The problem with like advice on LinkedIn, to be honest, is that you want to have your own identity. and I don't want to write as Guillaume, to be honest. Like I'm not Guillaume. Guillaume is awesome, but I'm not Guillaume, and I don't want to target the same people as Guillaume wants to target. He's targeting founders. I'm more targeting operators. And I don't necessarily find myself like in his style. That's pretty
Yeah.
fine. So I think like what's really important is to keep your authenticity, because unless you are very very it depends of your nature. I'm someone, I think I'm authentic as a person. I like to do things that I like, and I wouldn't sacrifice my personality just to do things that work better. So I prefer to achieve 20% of the potential but do something that is like me, than achieve 100% on something that's very different. But that being said, I think he gave me some feedbacks in the past to a couple posts. I think what I understood from that is really what I said about the angle. That's really
Mhm.
important. He revealed what 90% of the time he spent giving me advice on posts. It was about the hook, the first sentence. The first sentence is really important, and I think it's where most people fail. When I look at new people joining the company and trying to do LinkedIn, their hook are plain. Like it's like, and beside the hook there is something that people don't really understand. I think it's like the hook that is correlated to the person who posts. If I am Hormozy, Alex Hormozy, I have millions of followers. So if I write "life is beautiful," you get 20,000 likes. This is like that because like I'm Alex Hormozy. But if you're no one and you write "life is beautiful," you get no like. Like nobody gives a shit why you're saying that. So so when you try to copy someone very famous, it's important to understand that you are not at the same stage, and someone who is very famous has much more natural power, natural aura than you have when you're very, very early. So when you're early, you have to ask yourself, uh, why would people care about what I write? It's like, why do I have, so first of all, like, why do I have to say? Why do I have to share that's valuable to someone? Even if it's not valuable to a large subset of people, it can be valuable to a niche. And actually, it's usually better to start as a niche. It's exactly like creating a company. All the advice about creating a company is not go and create a CRM. It's no, find a niche, create a CRM for a niche. It's the same. Like find a niche and be very good on your niche, target the people on this niche that find value on what you write. Actually, it's much easier because you can outbound them, you can add them on contact, you can DM them to say that you like their contact. So it's much easier to be very narrow at the beginning, and I think as you grow, you can be a bit larger. So I would really advise to be narrow, and the general idea is like it's not only about the hook and the quality of the hook. If you take the hook of Lara Acosta, but you're no one, it will lead you no one. So I think you have to ask yourself like, what do I want to say, and then what type of emotion do I want to convey in this hook that makes people stop scrolling? Because people scroll. So why would they stop scrolling because of what you wrote? So and let's say I'm a product manager and I want to talk about how important it is to I don't know, interview customer. If you start the post by interviewing customer is the most important skill for a PM, then nobody will stop. You have to find something different. You have to say, after 10 years of PM, there is one thing I wish I did better earlier. And this is more like because you start to explain like why you think, and I think you can even fund better. So Guillaume really helped me to find this kind of like mental model of how you frame things, how you perceived, and I think it's important to be quite honest with yourself or how you can be perceived. You're not a superstar, so so unless you are, but and so that's important to understand. Like it's psychology, like how people will perceive what you say and how you make them stop scrolling and being interested in what you do.
Yep, yep, yep. And that often comes down to, as you said, kind of why should people listen to you? And that comes down to social proof if they don't know you. And you can do that by including something in your first sentence or hook that gives people proof of why you're worth listening to, which often comes down to things that you did, right? I did 100 cold calls yesterday, and here's the best opener that worked for me, right?
Yeah.
Steve asked, what other platforms do you repurpose for? Which platforms are generally most adjacent to LinkedIn for professional audience? Medium,
Yeah,
Substack.
yeah, I'm sorry, but as I don't repurpose, I don't really know. Like, I know that sometimes when I want some inspiration, I can spend some time on Taplio, but it's based only on LinkedIn. Then I think if I'm 100% honest, I could repurpose from Instagram because I spend way too much time on Instagram, and
Mhm.
sometimes I find like sales meme or fun sales stuff, and it happened like maybe 2 or 3 times that I send myself a meme and I'm like, okay, let's take this meme, but usually I rework it. I don't use it as directly as it is, but it gives me an idea. And same, I'm in some ops community, and sometimes they share memes, and same, I never use the meme as it is, or almost never. But I will rework the meme. One thing that's very powerful is to work on trends. Actually, I one of my most successful posts was, the famous guy in the Olympics was shooting, with no matter, no stuff, compared to the guy who had a lot of stuff. And so everyone was doing a LinkedIn post about this, and I think I took the trend at the right time, and I used it for my personal thinking. So I didn't take the meme from someone. I built it myself with like my idea, but it was very very successful because it was at the right time. So when you find a viral thing, like I don't know, like when I don't know Macron gets slapped,
This
you
one,
can, yeah,
right?
this one was quite successful.
How
So I
many
think
impressions
it's
is that? 2,000
I think
likes?
it's 1 million something like, or 800,000 something like that. Mm.
Sometimes the simplest metrics are the most powerful.
And it
Yeah.
it's one of the idea that I think I believe in, that I like simple metrics. So I didn't take the meme from anyone,
Do you track
but
anything
yeah,
for your LinkedIn or what do you track?
no, I don't track anything. Like
You
sometimes
don't?
I check my followers. That's it. I realized that I was past 30K, but yeah, that's it.
You
No.
should have done a post. Don't you know you need to do a post that you did
Yeah, I need
30K
to.
and what you
I
learned and
should. So I will do a post of why I didn't do a post. Maybe. No, but it's an easy post. Like whenever you put your face on, like with a smile, and like Dunkin' Donuts, like that's always working. Like I don't know why like people like seeing each other's face. So this is
yeah.
a easy way.
Now, one of
Um,
the things that stands out to me about Lemlist is obviously that this is seems to be quite part of your culture. There's a lot of people at Lemlist who are quite active on social. Obviously, I see the LinkedIn part. I mean, Guillaume, obviously you. I see your CMO out there. I see your VP product out there. Like different people
one.
creating a ton of content. Like how much of this is kind of orchestrated, like there's a dashboard, there's an incentive, like you get a bonus if you post, versus it's just people do it for their own reasons. Like tell me about if someone's listening to this and they want to do this, they want to have their employees be active on LinkedIn and put out content, like
Yeah.
how would you think about that?
So there were different periods in the company. So today we don't do so much, to be honest. Like we have a Slack that's called Engaging, where people can share their posts, and other people try to react. But everyone has a job, so we don't force anyone to engage with others' posts. Same now with Engaging Slack channel, you need to find a stop scrolling thing, because there are many people who put their links. So even at the scale of a company of 100 people, you need to find ways to have people linked on your,
Oh
or click
wow.
on your link and like. But yeah, it's what exists from the start, and that kind of a pod, like internal pod, let's say, of engagements. The other thing is that I think the real answer is because leading by example works. And so people see Guillaume do it, so they want to try. I joined Lemlist. I do think that part of me was because I was attracted and interested, and by that, and I wanted to see that from the inside. So I think lead by example is like the most important thing. You can say to people like go post on LinkedIn. You have to do it yourself. So I think the first thing is really lead by example. To be honest, we tried in the past before I joined. Apparently, they were like really helping each other a lot, and like Guillaume was writing posts. So actually, like even like last year, I think Guillaume started to write posts for our head of sales.
Mm.
He wrote like 15 posts to help him like get started. And actually, our head of sales didn't post any of them because he didn't like them. So it was like a bit like,
Fired.
to be honest, like no, he was not fired, but Guillaume was not happy, to be honest. So that was like one of the the tough time we had. No, I'm just joking. But more recently, for instance, Guillaume wrote posts for our CTO. Our CTO got banned too, and so he had to restart a profile. And we always struggle to hire devs. And so Guillaume wrote like maybe 15 to 20 posts, very provocative. about remote culture and why people who have like who wants to have their employees in their office are just people who are not able to manage them properly, stuff like that. And so he wrote posts and they work very well. So Mika was able to they are only in French because we are mostly French developers, but it worked very well. So sometimes like Guillaume help people like practically with posts. Unfortunately, he didn't do with me, but I wish. I would like to try his post to be honest. Like, why not? And then they were like, so I think he in the past he took like a lot of time to help. Like for instance, Roxana, Kevin,
Yep.
they were really helped by Guillaume. But for instance, Roxana left the company. Kevin is not posting anymore because he doesn't have enough time, and I think he's bored. And Luca used to post like a very very strong post too, like workflows on N8N, etc. So very sharp content. And but he doesn't have any time neither, and he doesn't like to do it anymore. So we don't force anyone. But we always have new people who join, like for instance, Tal, who's doing really good with sales. So we are lucky to have only always new people. Some of them are not managing to be successful. Some of them are. But yeah, that's pretty organic to be honest. I think it's really about leading by example, creating a culture where it's okay to have like a failed posts and you don't give a shit. And I often think like if your post is a failure, nobody sees it. So that's a practical right. That's practical, right?
Yeah.
That if anyway, it's like so nobody knows that you failed, because they
Yeah.
don't see your post. So I think that's good. So yeah, it's pretty much it. And to be honest, the one thing we tried was to incentivize with money people for posting. So we hesitated like to say, okay, let's say at the end of the quarter, depending on like if you have like 1 million impression, we give you, I don't know, 1,000 euros, something like that. Because we sometimes pay influencers to do that. So
Mhm.
employees were like, okay, why would you pay influencer and not pay your own employees? I think it's a fair point. But the problem is that we want people to be focused on their own job. And
Mhm.
we don't hire them to be influencer. And influencer are doing that for money. So it's their job. So that's one of the reasons. And so we prefer to have like a pricing for the quarter, like the person who had the most engagement, the person who tried the most, like the hard trier, to reward different types of efforts. And we paid, yeah, I think it was like uh, in total maybe 6,000 euros, something of cash price spread for 3 or 4 price. But we decided to stop because
Guillaume won every
it's
time.
no, but it's no. Actually, I was no. It's
He's
more than
excluded.
yeah, of course. But it's more that I don't want to create this culture where money is everywhere. I want people to do things because they like to do it,
Mm.
and yeah, money is good, but I prefer people to do it because they like it. They are creating their own asset. They can reuse this asset if they leave the company. The personal brand is always helpful. We are
Builds
we
a
are always
career.
supportive. Yeah, it's a career, so we are supportive. We try to help, but yeah, and some people are not comfortable with that. So how do you deal with people who don't want to do it? So is it really fair? So yeah, it's lots of pros and cons, and ultimately we prefer to stop that. But it was a big debate. Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
internally.
Now, you guys have a 10 to 1 LTV to CAC, which is pretty incredible. What do you think are the ingredients? What do you think are the things that you guys are doing that allow you to achieve this?
Yeah, I think what allows to do that is really brands, to be honest. It's brand is like it can be something where you spend lots of money for nothing, or it can be something that drives acquisition with no cost. Because last month it was August, so in France, August is pretty chill month. We still grew by over a million in ARR. So
Wow.
while everyone was on holidays. So this is allowed because the brand is strong and the brand is like something that supports the quality of the product. So it's like if you have a good brand but a bad product, then it will annihilate, in a way. But if you have a good brand and you have a product that improves every day and that becomes stronger and stronger, naturally people come back to the brand and they retry the product and they see, oh, everything that changed, And so it's like good product and good brand together, they're so strong, combined. And so we've seen like in the past 2 years, we've been growing very fast, and hopefully it will continue. But I do think when I'm trying to understand that, it's really because we have improved the product a lot and we continue to invest in the brand. And the brand is like really many things, but it's about having a different identity that stands out, not being plain. And in our case, I think it's being authentic, being close to the people, like yeah, no bullshit, like really simple in the communication and a bit fun, and so brand is supported by, of course, social, but it's supported by the content you do. For instance, we've killed lots of content that was just done for SEO. For instance, for a very long period of time, we optimized for SEO. And we've started to play like any brand, like I always give this example of like HubSpot. One day, like maybe that was 5 years ago, and I had to create a marketing budget. I had no idea what to do. And so I write marketing budget on Google. And the first link is an SEO is HubSpot. HubSpot marketing budget template. And so I'm like, okay, they ask me for my email, I give my email, and then they give me their marketing budget template. And it was a piece of shit, The content was really, really shitty. Like it was just a fucking spreadsheet done by an intern with like 10 lines, one line that was PR, one line that, and you put the amount per year and that's it, and that was really a joke, So I was like, okay, so basically you're taking an email, but you're giving nothing in return. So, and this is how you want people to perceive your brand. And for me, the brand is in all these small details of what you do with people, because maybe things work and they will work once, they will work twice, but on the long term, people know that they got fooled, and the brand is like becoming a bit weaker. And because things compound, the brand gets weaker and weaker, and people don't see the brand as something trustworthy, as something they like, and they can, identify with. So for instance, yeah, for 1 year we got lost. We wanted to have more growth. We did SEO. We created like lots of articles. And when we were reading the article, we're like, and one day we woke up and we say, okay, would I read this article? No, I would never read this article. Does it rank on Google? Yeah, it ranks. But what's the bounce rate? Oh, the bounce rate is 75%. So meaning that 75% of the people are staying less than 3 seconds on the article. And how many people are actually reading the article? Maybe 10 people, and that's actually really bad. And so we decided that it was harming the brand to do SEO.
Hmm.
Just because you have to do lots of content, update it all the time. So you need to have very high volume of people working on that. And you cannot have a high volume of people that does very high quality articles. That's impossible. So we decided to kill the blog, like to kill everything on it. So it still exists, of course, but we now work only on articles. We do very little articles, and when we do them, it's someone who is very senior with the industry that writes it, and we try to make it very valuable and try write something that we would actually read.
Yeah.
So
So when you say it's the brand, well, a good product in combination with a good brand, is the brand built on Guillaume's content, your content, the content that the people that we just discussed are putting out on LinkedIn? I know Guillaume also does YouTube videos. Is that how you think about building brand, or is that a tiny fraction of it? Like where and how do you guys build brand?
yeah, so I think brand was Lemlist brand was really built on social, and as you mentioned, it was built before I arrived. So that's one of the thing I that existed before I arrived that I tried to preserve. So social is really a good way to build a brand when you manage to stand out. Then you can either incarnate the brand like Guillaume did, or you can either work with influencers. But working with influencer is not only please do a promotional post about my product. It's like, what's your standpoint? What's your brand standpoint? How do you do something that's different? With whom do you partner with? If you just take someone with a lot of audience, sorry, it's not. So the brand is in every tiny detail that you decide to do. It's in everything. Every time you do something that's publicly visible, it's brand. So that's of course social. That's influencer. That's of course the content that you have on your website. So for instance, like the content that you can have, like the way you talk about your product on your product pages. That can be the academy that you do, the YouTube video that you will put online. Every type of content that you do will be a brand, in a way. And I would even go further. The way our salespeople talk with prospects is brand. Because, for instance, our sales, we hire sales rep who are like nice guys. we don't hire sales reps who are like sharks because we don't want to sign a deal for the poor reasons. We could, of course, like many companies do that, and they are right to do it. It's just not our brand. Our brand is to be trustworthy. Our brand is something that we don't care to sign a deal now if we can sign a deal in 6 months. I prefer to sign a deal in 1 year because I have the features that the person needs than to sign a deal now without the feature that the person wants. And so I want salespeople, and we have salespeople who will never lie on what we can do. And I'm 100% sure. If they do, it's not going to work out. And so the brand is in the way you do sales. It's in everything.
Yeah. I have one more question, and then guys, we can go to Q&A if you guys have anything. Daenerys, I know that you have one or two questions. Now, I think 18 months ago or something, you talked about you guys broke through a plateau you guys had at around 50 million ARR. Now you're obviously at 33 million ARR, so you doubled since then. Can you share a little bit about like context about that plateau? Like how long did it last? And then what do you think you guys did to actually break through it? And now, I mean, having what seems like incredible growth since then.
Yeah, so incredible is relative when you look at Lovable, but let's say that it's I'm proud of the growth we have, and yeah, it's a fact. So when I arrived at the company, Lemlist was stuck at 15 million AR, 15.5. The good news is that we just acquired Tapio and Twitter, and Tapio was growing very fast. So Lempire overall was growing, but Lemlist was flat at 15 million, and it was flat for maybe 3 to 4 months.
Mm.
And it continued for 8 more months when I joined. And it was very frustrating because, to be honest, like when I arrived, I tried to do things and I had absolutely no results. And I was feeling really bad when talking to Guillaume because I was like, I'm really sorry, I'm not able to find ways to grow the business, and I'm doing my best, but I don't know what to do. And to be honest, he was really nice at the time because he said like, I'm seeing what you do. I know you're doing the right things, and results are never tied to the quality of what you do. And actually, I do believe it's right. Sometimes you do very well and you have no results, and sometimes you do poor and you have good results. And you can find very average people like with incredible track records in companies because they've been at the right time in the right spot. But you can find people who are amazing and who didn't get results. So unfortunately, it's not that easy. Plus, things are very, very laggy. And the more you have a complex organization, the more there is lag between implementing things and seeing the results. And so you never get results like overnight. When you change something, it's going to take a while. And so the feedback loop that you get is long to get. And this is what's difficult because when you want to do things, you want to learn. And to learn, you need time and you need a feedback loop, and you need to know what's working or not. But it's not instantaneous. It's not like that. Like when you learn a sport or something, it takes time. And so it's been very nice to me about that. But so what changed to answer more directly? It's really a system. Like it's difficult because I know people they like shortcut and they like say, "Oh, we fixed something on the website and that was good." No, we a company is a system around serving a customer's problem. You serve a customer problem. You have many people who have the problem. Hopefully, if you have a large market, and the question is like, how well do you serve this problem? And how much friction do you remove to them in buying your service? And so your role is to identify a problem, to serve it very well, and to remove any friction in buying your service and using your service, removing the friction. And so what we did, I think, like we did many things, but I think one of the things that maybe was the most impactful was to go back on launching feature. I think mostly because we are in a very competitive industry. There are new players all the time, and I think the company was not innovating for a while. They had taken a lot of time to revamp the technical debt, which is a very, very dangerous word when you hear that from a CTO. We are going to heal the technical debt, or we are going to work on that should
That
draw
means a
some
year of no
warnings.
shipping.
Yeah, exactly. That was what happened. So the company did not ship for a while, and that was one of the big root cause of like the company losing, traction. But because it was losing sexiness, it was less sexy. The brand was weaker because you don't ship new things, so you are not seen as an innovator anymore. So when you sell technology, your technology need to improve. For instance, it's the same. Like Apple, they failed to improve their AirPods for years and so they've seen like people buying other AirPods and now other earplugs. So now they have been shipping like very new things lately, and hopefully they will get back some traction. So I think innovation was one of the big thing. Because if you don't have innovation, it's like really not possible to create hype and to generate growth on the long term, in my
And did you
opinion.
guys actually resolve the technical debt? Was that a thing that was actually necessary and it just took a year and then finally you guys were through and you could finally ship again? Or was it like, hey guys, this is a fallacy. We will
No.
never like get everything perfect. So like let's just start shipping new things even as we refactor some things.
No, I didn't put this exact way right after, but the idea that I would use today, it was like, okay, let's get in a room with like all the product people, all the tech. What do we ship this month?
Hmm.
What feature is happening this month that excites our customer? Oh, we are going to improve the technical debt to reduce it. Okay, but what does it change for the customer? What exactly? So how can we do to have every month one thing that excites the market that people are excited about? And so and now it's more every 3 months because we have a wider code base. And but it's a question I still ask to my product leadership. It's like when we do meetings, they prepare a very long notion with everything they do, and I'm like, okay,
Right.
okay, I don't give a shit. Tell me what is exciting you in what we ship this month. What are the wow thing, and how do we communicate about that? And
Yeah.
it's pretty simple, it's like what excites people, because we need to create excitement. So that's what I ask.
I'm sure there's more things, Charles, that you guys did, but I want to try to give at least the narrowest a chance to ask her a question, and then we can see if we got time for more.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Charles, again, for creating the opportunity to have this conversation. I have a question because I just finished my studies and I'm interested in becoming an entrepreneur one day. And I know that people talk a lot about personal branding and how it's important. And now with AI tools, like people will trust more and more people. So I understand and see the value of personal branding. But how do you go about creating a personal brand or like posting on LinkedIn specifically when you're not really a thought leader? Because I mean, I'm not legitimate enough because I'm still a student and starting out in my career. So it's not like I'm legitimate. Um, I don't have an idea that I know that I'm working towards. So it's not like I have a market that I'm building so I can talk more about the market. So I guess very practically, how would you position? Like, I know I want to start creating content, but how do I do it?
Yeah.
Or like, what would be the practical advice to get started?
Well, that's a very tough one, but I think like of course it's easier the more you have experience and things to say, the easier it is to be
Yeah.
an opinion leader and therefore to build a personal brand. So I would acknowledge that, but I don't think that means that you cannot do it. I think you have to be very clear that you have not so much to share now, but what's interesting is you. And so I would storytell my own story. I would be like, you could even be and say, okay, I'm just a girl like trying to launch, something like simple because you're not so much so, and it's fine to say it. So I would be like very low
Yeah.
profile and say just a girl trying to launch our business, and you share your story, you very honest and refreshing way. I would use the fact that you're young and then refreshing. So I would then it's all about like what you feel comfortable with. But I mean like if I were like myself like starting I don't know, a business tomorrow and being like out of college or like a school, I would be very honest. I would be like, I'm someone with zero experience who is going to show you all the mistakes that I'm doing, so you can avoid them, something like that. So so that just you have to find an angle and use it, and double down on it. And I think you can use this inferiority thing to ask for help. So you could add people on network, say, oh, you are an experienced company builder with like an audience on LinkedIn. I'm trying to build a company and build an audience. Would you be okay if we connect together so I can engage with a few of your posts? And you do that every day. You automate that, and you start to grow your network with high quality people that are entrepreneurs that are a stage or two stage later than you, who are posting on LinkedIn, and then you start to engage with our post, and you find a good hook about who you are, like just a young girl trying to survive in the jungle of creating a business, something like that. So I think it's all about creating a brand around yourself, and you don't need so much to create a brand. You can actually create a brand just about like the fact that you don't have so much to share yet, but you're still trying.
If I may
Yeah.
add one
Okay.
thing, I think I like Alex Hormozi's formula for creating content, which is essentially do cool shit and then talk about it. And you don't need to be the CEO of a 30 million company to do cool shit. You can vibe code a thing in Lovable. You can like go to an event, you can like, speak to people, you can host a dinner and cook a very cool meal for people, you can teach yourself the piano, like I don't know, there's lots of cool things you can do, and then you can just talk about them and how you did them, why you did them, what you learned, and you're always 2 steps ahead of someone else in their journey.
Mm.
And so, I think that's the formula. I think the worst ones is when like young people, I mean, I'm young too, like try to tell the world like how they should do things, and everyone can see through, like you don't know anything about this, and now you're trying to explain to me how, marketing works, or how people should run their company. I think that stuff doesn't work. It's when you're trying to pretend you're a thought leader and everyone knows that you're not, so cool. Any one last question here? Caroline said, thanks so much. Then we're going to be wrapping up things here now. Charles, thank you so much.